You might think buying a car is, a simple linear process. A brand designs a vehicle, they build it, a dealer sells it, and you just drive it off the lot.
Right, the classic model.
Exactly. But if you pull back the curtain on the automotive industry in this landscape, that comforting illusion totally shatters.
Oh, absolutely.
Your local dealership is quietly fighting this high-stakes, data-driven supply chain war just to keep cars on the pavement. So, welcome to Auto News Talk. We are going to map out exactly how this fragmented, chaotic landscape impacts what you drive, where it is built, and, well, what you actually pay.
Yeah, and to really grasp the gravity of this, we need to completely abandon the idea of looking at car news as, isolated events.
Right, it's all connected.
Exactly. Here's the terrain we are walking through. It is a massive chain reaction. We have to look at the entire life cycle. So starting with a brutal affordability shortage on the used car lot, which then alters the desirability of electric vehicles.
Which is a whole wild situation on its own.
It really is.
Yeah.
And that anomaly forces automakers to radically split their new car showrooms into these wild extremes. And ultimately, all of this compels global manufacturers to just completely redraw their billion-dollar factory maps to keep up.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting at ground zero, which is the used car lot. Because if you are a consumer walking onto a lot looking for just, reliable transportation, the sticker shock is suffocating.
It's a severe affordability squeeze. I mean, the math behind it is just unyielding. There is a market analysis from Cox covering how the used vehicle market is settling into a seasonal pattern, and it lays out the reality pretty clearly.
What's the damage?
Well, retail used vehicle listing prices are stubbornly stuck right around the $27,000 mark.
Wait, $27,000? Just for a standard used vehicle?
Yeah.
I mean, that completely prices out a massive chunk of average households. Why is that floor so rigid?
So that same Cox seasonal pattern report identifies the underlying mechanism here. The market is experiencing a massive vacuum of vehicles that are like 4 to 6 years old.
And those are usually the sweet spot for budget buyers, right?
Exactly. Those cars are essentially the lifeblood of affordable used inventory. But their supply is incredibly short because of those massive global production shutdowns that happened years ago.
Oh, right, because factories were just sitting empty.
Millions of cars were simply never built during that window. And so, years down the road, those missing cars are rippling through the secondary market. You cannot sell a 5-year-old car if it was never manufactured 5 years ago.
That makes total sense. So the pipeline is just dry. But wait, if I am a smaller, independent dealer, the classic mom and pop lot on the corner, how do I even survive?
It's incredibly tough.
Because if the affordable cars do not exist, and the ones that do are $27,000, how am I stocking my inventory without just going bankrupt?
That is the existential crisis of the independent dealer right there. We can look at another industry report from Cox, and this one urges independent dealers to lead with a strict inventory strategy. The pressure cooker they are operating in is intense.
How bad is it?
Well, the report notes that the Manheim Used Vehicle Value Index hit a lofty 213.9.
Okay, let's pause and translate that for the listener. Because think of the Manheim Index like the stock market ticker for the auto world. It measures what dealers are paying each other for vehicles at wholesale auctions behind the scenes.
Long before you ever see a price written on a windshield.
Exactly. And a score above 200 means dealers are paying a massive premium just to acquire the metal.
That is the perfect way to contextualize it. And while they are paying those premiums, that same inventory strategy report highlights that overall used vehicle supply is hovering at just 42 to 48 days.
Wow, only 42 days.
Yeah. For context, a healthy, comfortable lot usually wants around 60 days of supply. Operating in the low 40s means these dealers are living hand to mouth.
Which means they are desperate for cars. But, a small independent lot has to bid at those auctions against massive corporate auto groups with limitless cash.
Right.
They cannot use brute force to win a bidding war against a conglomerate.
Which forces a radical change in behavior. The takeaway for these independent dealers is a mandatory shift from brute force to surgical precision. It is no longer about just having access to cars. It is about the sheer quality of the purchase decision.
So they have to be smarter.
Exactly. The strategy report outlines a strict 5-step, repeatable process to survive this environment. First, define the strategy. Second, source intentionally.
Okay.
Third, use data to guide decisions. Fourth, monitor performance. And fifth, adjust and repeat.
It is like moving from playing checkers to playing high-stakes poker. You can no longer afford to just buy whatever drives past your lot. You need to count cards.
You really do.
A dealer has to know their target customer and the exact required profit margin on a specific SUV before they even raise a paddle at an auction.
They have to know the exact math before they spend a single dollar.
I see the logic, but what this doesn't answer is the reality of the little guy. The strategy report suggests using data tools and assurance processes to mitigate the massive risks of buying vehicles off-site or online.
Right, to protect their margins.
But are those advanced, expensive data tools actually affordable for a tiny mom-and-pop lot? Or does this new requirement for military-grade data precision just slowly choke them out of the market entirely?
That remains a profound structural vulnerability for the industry. But, as the broader used car market cools into this expensive, constrained, seasonal pattern, there is one specific segment acting wildly out of character.
Really? Which one?
It is behaving like an absolute anomaly. I'm talking about the electric vehicle segment.
Oh, the EV market. It's like looking at a sports team with a mediocre record, but like one rookie player is suddenly breaking all the scoring records.
Yes, that is exactly it. To understand just how bizarre the EV market is behaving, we have wholesale index data from the June Manheim Index report.
What does it show?
It reveals that while standard non-EV wholesale prices crept up a virtually flat 1.7%, the EV index absolutely skyrocketed by 12% year over year.
Wait, a 12% jump for used EVs while gas-powered cars are basically stalled out?
Yeah, a full 12%.
That is a staggering disconnect. Why this sudden gold rush for used electrics?
The momentum at these wholesale auctions is fierce. The same June Manheim Index report tracks sales conversion, which, is the percentage of cars crossing the auction block that actually get purchased by a dealer.
Right, the ones that actually sell.
Overall sales conversion for EVs reached a remarkably hot 57.5%. That is well above the 3-year average. Dealers are aggressively snapping up these vehicles the second they become available.
Here is where it gets really interesting, though. Despite that massive 12% jump in performance and those hyper-aggressive conversion rates, EVs are still like a microscopic part of the ecosystem.
They really are.
Going back to that Cox seasonal pattern report we discussed earlier, it specifically notes that EVs still make up less than 4% of the total wholesale sales volume.
Less than 4%. It is a tiny, isolated pool of vehicles generating a massive amount of market heat.
So what does this all mean for the consumer? The underlying mechanism seems to be that broader model availability, combined with the fact that these cars have depreciated enough to actually be affordable on the secondary market, is finally moving the needle on desirability.
People are starting to notice them.
Exactly. People who were completely priced out of a brand new EV are suddenly realizing, hey, a 3-year-old electric car is a totally viable commuter.
That desirability is definitely peaking, but it comes with a massive caveat. The wholesale data report notes a looming dark cloud over this trend.
What's the dark cloud?
It points specifically to off-lease supply and fluctuating fuel prices as major risks.
Ah, meaning the wave of people who leased an EV 3 years ago are about to hand those keys back to the dealership.
Exactly the issue. The question this data leaves completely open is where the tipping point lies. If a massive wave of off-lease EVs suddenly floods the auction lanes, diluting that tiny 4% volume we just talked about.
Or if gas prices drop significantly and make traditional cars more appealing.
Right. Will that 12% EV premium vanish overnight? It is a highly volatile bubble.
And that volatility is rippling straight from the used car auction block into the pristine showrooms of new car dealerships. Because this squeeze on affordable used cars, combined with the unpredictable surge in used EVs, is forcing legacy automakers to make drastic, polarizing moves in their new car lineups.
We are seeing a severe barbell effect.
The market is splitting into absolute extremes and entirely abandoning the middle class of vehicles.
The contrast on a showroom floor is jarring.
It really is. We can see this illustrated perfectly in a roundup of auto industry headlines published by Auto News Talk, covering new models, pricing, and market shifts.
It's wild to look at them side by side.
On one end of the barbell, automakers are making a frantic dash to capture the budget-conscious buyer with stripped-down EVs. The headline roundup highlights a Fiat Topolino being brought to select dealers for under $15,000.
$15,000. That's incredible.
And alongside that, a new slate electric truck starting around $25,000.
They're desperately trying to engineer a vehicle for the person who simply cannot afford the $27,000 used car floor we established earlier.
But then, on the exact same newsfeed from that headline roundup, on the complete opposite end of the barbell, you have legacy brands catering to the ultra-wealthy.
The hypercars.
Right. You see a McMurtry fan car priced at a staggering $1.3 million. You have an Audi Sport Quattro making a return with over 500 horsepower, and a Ferrari 12 Cilindri sporting a classic gated shifter.
It perfectly illustrates an industry moving on completely divergent tracks. Automakers are trying to survive by building ultra-affordable, low-margin EVs for the masses, while simultaneously milking massive profit margins from ultra-low-volume hypercars for the elite.
And they are trying to manage these two extremes while juggling an immense logistical burden. Building modern vehicles is incredibly complex.
It's a nightmare for them, honestly.
Another key detail from that same headline roundup points to a sweeping safety recall involving 741,000 Ford trucks and SUVs over a rollaway risk.
Nearly 750,000 vehicles. That underscores the sheer operational weight these companies carry. Managing the software, the hardware, and the safety systems on a recall that size is a gargantuan financial and logistical drain.
Which brings up a fascinating dilemma regarding those budget vehicles. It is great for consumers to see a sub-$15,000 EV in the headlines. But what this reporting doesn't tell us is if engineering a car that cheap is actually profitable for a legacy automaker.
That's the real question.
Is a $15,000 Fiat simply a loss leader? Like a cheap car designed just to hit government fleet emissions targets so the brand can legally keep selling those high-margin, gas-guzzling trucks?
That is the multi-billion-dollar question debated in every automotive boardroom. And, it leads us directly into how these automakers are physically restructuring to survive.
Because they have to adapt.
Right. Because to navigate this chaos, where dealers need surgical data to buy used cars, used EVs are a volatile wild card, and new cars span from $15,000 to over $1 million. Automakers have to ruthlessly optimize where and how they pour concrete for their factories.
They can no longer rely on the sprawling, fragile, global supply chains of the past.
Supply chain resilience has become a matter of absolute survival. If we look back at the industry headline roundup, it showcases how overarching policy keeps automakers completely on edge.
The political side of things.
Exactly. Specifically, the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement creates constant anxiety regarding cross-border parts, tariffs, and trade volatility.
The threat of a border delay or a sudden tariff is an existential risk when you're trying to build thousands of cars a day.
To combat that specific vulnerability, we are witnessing a massive wave of reshoring.
Bringing it all back home.
Right. We have a detailed manufacturing report outlining a major strategic move by Toyota to drastically expand its San Antonio, Texas footprint.
What are they doing exactly?
The report details Toyota's plan to pull the majority of its iconic Tacoma pickup production out of its Baja, Mexico facility and bring it entirely back stateside.
Wow. The sheer scale of this move is staggering. The details in that Toyota expansion report outline a $3.6 billion investment. They are adding 2.5 million square feet to the San Antonio plant.
To visualize that, they're essentially dropping a massive commercial shopping mall right into the middle of an existing factory footprint.
The report notes this expansion will create 2,000 new jobs and add 150,000 vehicles of annual production capacity. Why move the production of one of your most successful trucks across a border at that kind of expense?
Because localizing production shields the automaker from those global supply shocks and the constant whiplash of trade policy we just mentioned.
It's an insurance policy.
Exactly. It proves that the physical footprint of the auto industry is shifting just as violently as the vehicle designs themselves. The overarching logic is simple. Build the heavy, profitable trucks in the exact same country where you sell them.
Every action has a reaction, though. While bringing 2,000 jobs to Texas is a massive economic win for San Antonio, what this announcement completely leaves out is the fate of the Baja facility and its workers.
Yeah, that's a huge blind spot.
What fills the economic void when 150,000 units of manufacturing capacity suddenly vanish from a Mexican plant? The geopolitical ripple effects of this reshoring trend are incredibly complex.
It disrupts a very delicate balance of regional economies.
So what does this all mean for the listener? Let's tie these shifting gears together. As we step back and survey this landscape, 3 clear themes emerge across all of these reports.
Okay, the first overarching theme is the affordability crisis. This acts as the central gravity for the entire market.
Pulling everything toward it.
Exactly. It is keeping used retail prices stubbornly high, as supported by the Cox seasonal pattern report. And that exact pressure is simultaneously pushing automakers to develop ultra-cheap new EVs, as we saw in the Auto News Talk headline Roundup featuring that $15,000 Fiat.
The second theme is data over muscle. Whether you are a small lot dealer trying to source inventory or a global automaker deciding where to build a new factory, survival requires disciplined strategy over raw spending power.
You can't just buy your way out of trouble anymore.
Right. We see this clearly in the Cox Dealer Strategy Report requiring a strict 5-step data process and in the calculated multi-billion-dollar Toyota expansion.
And the third theme is supply chain reshoring. Geopolitics, tariffs, and basic logistics are forcing a localization of production. The physical map of the industry is shrinking inwards, driven by the policy anxieties noted in the headline Roundup and executed through Toyota's massive move to Texas.
But within those themes, the industry is battling massive internal contradictions. Two specific tensions really stand out.
First, we have the explosive 12% wholesale growth of used EVs. This demand directly contrasts with the struggles of premium EV startups.
Like who?
Well, the headline Roundup explicitly noted companies like Lucid and Rivian actively cutting production and laying off workers.
So creating a paradox where the secondary market for electrics is white hot, but the new market is pulling back.
Exactly. And the second tension happens right on the dealership floor. There is massive high-conversion dealer demand for used vehicles. I mean, dealers want to buy everything in sight, yet they are operating in an incredibly constrained 42 to 48 day supply environment.
Which is terrifying for them.
It forces them into this paradox where they must buy aggressively but bid defensively, relying on precision data just to survive.
So what is the practical takeaway from all of this complexity? The so what for the person listening? It is that the middle class of the automotive industry is quietly being eradicated.
It's vanishing.
You are entering a consumer market that is actively trying to push you to the edges. It wants you to either buy a $15,000 micro EV commuter, a $100,000 plus luxury beast, or step onto a used car lot where the dealer has utilized military-grade analytics to ensure they do not lose a single dime on your transaction.
That's the reality. We tend to look at cars as just, steel, glass, and batteries. But in this environment, every single vehicle you pass on the highway is a rolling testament to a massive, high-stakes supply chain war happening entirely out of sight.
Thank you for joining us for this segment of Auto News Talk. Next time you drive past your local used car lot, take a closer look at the inventory lined up by the street. Ask yourself, did the dealer buy those cars with a scattergun, just hoping for the best, or did they acquire them with a sniper rifle backed by ruthless data? Keep your eyes on the lot, and we will see you on the next Auto News Talk.